We watch Southeast Texas or Southwest Louisiana, if you will. You said if one of us sneezes, the other catches cold. We appreciate what y'all are doing. Port Arthur has been the victim of a blight. And so what's happening with Sempra Energy and others, not just Sempra, but others in Port Arthur, Texas, Southeast Texas as we call it, is actually helping with the community, helping rebuild the community, that city. You know, I've got the 4 coastal counties of Texas, starting at Louisiana border, going down the down the curve of Texas. We have 7 ports, more than any other member of Congress. Some have 4. We produce 65% of the nation's jet fuel, 80% of the nation's military-grade fuel. Energy for us is a big, big deal. I'm going to segue over to you real quick, Ms. Giannetti, if I can. If, in fact, the LNG is capable of helping to lower greenhouse gas emissions in the world, that would be a good thing. Yes or no, it would be a good thing if it does it.
One of the reasons why we need to properly reassess our tools is to be able to evaluate the impact of LNG.
Either LNG does a good job of reducing versus when you're talking about coal, you're talking about oil, you're talking about other things. LNG helps reduce greenhouse gas emissions. I got to move on. I'm short of time. Back to you, Mr. Cormier. Can you elaborate on the jobs from your vantage point, both direct and indirect, the tax revenues, and all that these LNG export? And by the way, I didn't say we have 2 LNG plants in our district. We have Freeport LNG, and we have we have Golden Pass LNG, Sempra on the boards. And as you know, Cheniere is right across the road from Sabine Neches Waterway. And Sabine Neches Navigation District has a contract to export their LNG out. So we in Texas are responsible for a lot of that. Tell us about both direct and indirect impact on jobs, the tax revenues, and all that these LNG export facilities bring home. Tell us about that.
This is directly from McNeese State University's H.C. Drew Center for Economic Development. In terms of completed and operating LNG facilities, construction resulted in impacts of almost 17,000 jobs, over $1.2 billion in labor income, almost $1.5 billion in real GDP. Operations resulted in annual impacts of over 3,000 jobs, almost $350 million in labor income, and over $1 billion in real GDP. In terms of the announced LNG facilities, construction will result in impacts of over 25,000 jobs, almost $2 billion in labor income, over $2 billion in real GDP, and operations would result in almost 4,000 jobs, almost $440 million in labor income, and over $1.3 billion in real GDP. That's the numbers that we have locally.
And that says a whole lot that we're doing a good job at creating jobs. It is reducing greenhouse gas emissions, whether some here want to admit that or not. Mr. McCowan, I'm going to jump over to you. In your testimony, you lay out the path forward for counties that rely on U.S. LNG if this export ban remains. And this is an election year, and let's make it's funny that our friends across the aisle want to talk about we're making it a political thing for whether it's Ukraine funding and blah, blah, blah. This is an election year. Can you speak to the environmental benefits that U.S. LNG provides, especially as it compares to producers worldwide? I've got about 35, 40 seconds.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it significantly reduces greenhouse gas emissions, and we talk a lot about coal, which is about a 50% emission reduction, but when we talk about fuel oil, wood, other things, it's
dung.
I wasn't going to say it, but yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and we appreciate that. And let's see, in the last 19 seconds, Mr. Rice, energy security is national security. What are you doing to help with it? You got 10 seconds.